Think about the last time you moved. Maybe it was for a new job or to be a little closer to family. Now, what if that move wasn't just across town, but across an entire ocean, leaving literally everything you've ever known behind? Well, that's the reality for hundreds of millions of people. It's a force that is reshaping our world on a scale we have just never seen before. So yeah, let's get into it.
Before we jump into all the stats and the big picture trends, I want to start with the real why of it all. What could possibly make someone decide to leave everything, and I mean everything behind, to start over somewhere completely new? It's a question that really gets to the heart of the human experience, and honestly, it's where this whole story has to begin.
All right, so to really wrap our heads around this, we need to make sure we're all on the same page. What do we actually mean when we say human migration?
Okay, so here's the key distinction. We're not talking about a 2-week vacation here. Migration is a permanent or semi-permanent move. And, this is the important part, it's across state boundaries. That's the international piece of the puzzle we're focusing on.
And look, it's so important to remember this is nothing new. Humans have always been on the move. It's practically baked into our DNA. It's one of the most fundamental ways we adapt. But what is new and what we're about to see is the incredible, mind-boggling scale of it all.
So what are the forces that are driving this massive movement of people? Well, experts have a really simple, but honestly a really powerful way of thinking about it. They call it the great push and pull.
See, on one side, you've got the push factors. These are the things that make staying where you are basically impossible. We're talking about war, natural disasters, or a complete lack of jobs. Then, on the other side, you have the pull factors. These are like magnets drawing people toward a new life, a better job, safety for your kids, a good education. Every single migration story is a unique mix of these powerful forces.
Okay, so we've got all these different reasons people are on the move. How do we even begin to make sense of it all? Well, experts actually have a framework for that, a way to break it down and understand all the different kinds of movement we're seeing out there.
Because, let's be real, right? The journey of a software engineer moving for a high-tech job is just worlds apart from a family fleeing a war zone. To really get what migration is all about, you have to dig into the specifics. You can't just lump everyone together.
And this is basically how they do it. Experts like Fabio Baggio ask 5 key questions to sort it all out. First, where are people going? Is it just across a border or halfway around the world? Second, how long are they going for? A few months, a few years, or for good? Then you've got who is moving, how are they getting there, legally, illegally, and maybe the biggest question of all, why? Each answer gives us a much clearer picture of what's really going on.
Okay, so we've got a much better handle on the what and the why. But what about the how many? I mean, just how big is this global movement we keep talking about?
This quote just nails it. A lot of people are calling our era the age of migration, and there's a very good reason for that. The scale of this is, well, it's completely unprecedented. And the data from the UN is just staggering. In 1985, there were about 105 million international migrants. Now, fast forward just 25 years to 2010, and that number has more than doubled to 214 million. That is a truly mind-blowing increase.
Now, 214 million is a number so huge it's almost impossible to picture. So let's put it this way. It works out to about 3% of everyone on the planet, which means if you're in a room with about 33 people, statistically speaking, one of them is an international migrant. Kind of puts it in perspective, right? So that brings up a really big question. How in the world do you even count a population that is, by its very nature, constantly on the move? I mean, that sounds like a massive challenge.
So the UN basically uses 2 main tools. First, you've got something called migrant stock. Think of it like taking a snapshot. On this one particular day, how many migrants are living in this country? Bam! But then you have migration flow, which is more like a time-lapse video. How many people moved in and out over, say, a whole year? You really need both of those to see the whole picture.
But here's the thing. As powerful as those numbers are, they have a blind spot, a pretty big one actually. And understanding what they don't show us is just as important as knowing what they do.
Because these official numbers, you have to think of them as just the tip of the iceberg. There are millions of stories, millions of people that our data just can't see.
And here's why it's so incredibly tricky. For starters, different countries have totally different ideas of who even counts as a migrant. Then you have people who move without official papers. They often stay completely under the radar. And then there's this really complex situation with second-generation individuals who can kind of get lost in a statistical gray area.
So, the big takeaway here is pretty simple.
That massive number we saw, 214 million, that's the bare minimum. That's the number we can count. The real number is almost certainly much, much higher.
And that leaves us with this huge kind of lingering question. We have the data, we have the frameworks, we have the tools, but if a huge chunk of the population we're trying to study is basically statistically invisible, how can we ever hope to understand the full story? That's really the central challenge in our ever-moving world.